In a business world that is just obsessed with getting bigger and faster, what if I told you the real future is actually in staying small? Well, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating idea from Manu Sharma about this quiet but super powerful shift that's happening right under our noses. He calls it the rise of the small giants. This quote just nails the whole idea, doesn't it? I mean, while all the headlines are screaming about massive corporations making all this noise, Sharma's point is that the really important stuff, the next real wave, is taking shape in these tiny, quiet corners, places most of us aren't even looking. And this really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. We've all been taught that success means massive, unbelievable scale. But is that really the only way? What if the businesses that are going to make the biggest impact are the ones that are deliberately choosing to stay small, to stay focused, to stay human? So, to really wrap our heads around this new idea, we first have to talk about the old one, this cultural obsession with massive scale. Sharma calls it the myth of bigness. This probably feels really familiar to a lot of you. It's this relentless pressure to become a unicorn, right? To build some kind of universal product for everyone. But it's just this exhausting, totally impersonal chase that leaves so many talented mid-career pros feeling completely burnt out and just wanting to get back to building something real with their own hands. So if that's the problem, what's the alternative to that crazy chase? Well, let's meet the small giants. These guys are the powerful countercurrent to that whole pressure cooker world. So what even is a micro company? Well, it's a small, purpose-built venture. We're talking one or two people who are not trying to boil the entire ocean. Sharma has this beautiful way of describing them. He says they're like wildflowers sprouting in unexpected soil. They solve real, specific problems for niche communities that the big guys just completely ignore. And these traits, this is what makes them so special. They are not trying to be universal. They exist to serve a small, dedicated community. They solve one very specific problem. And because they're so focused, what they create feels handcrafted. It feels intimate, and it delivers this incredibly potent, concentrated value. It's a totally different ballgame. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how on earth do they pull this off? How do they succeed when they're basically breaking all the traditional rules of business? Well, turns out they've got their own playbook. And here is the absolute key, their uniqueness, their almost weird precision. That's their greatest strength. Think about it. In a world full of generic, one-size-fits-all junk, finding something that is built specifically for you feels incredibly human, and you just instantly trust it. I absolutely love this quote. These small ventures win because they can genuinely care more, and they can move so much faster. They don't need 10 meetings and 5 layers of corporate sign-off to make a decision. All they need is clarity and the guts to act on what their community is telling them. And that leads us to another core principle, coherence over scale. It's all about moving from chaos to clarity. See, the world doesn't just reward size, it rewards focus. When your work makes perfect sense and your value is crystal clear to a specific group of people, momentum just happens. And that right there is the payoff. That's what coherence gets you. By being so focused, these small giants make their niche audience feel seen and heard and truly understood. And that kind of connection, that builds a type of loyalty that huge corporations can only dream of. All right, now this is where the idea gets, well, ironically, really big. Sharma suggests this trend isn't just for solo entrepreneurs. It could actually reshape how we think about large companies altogether. Just look at this comparison. On one side, you've got the traditional, slow-moving corporate monolith that just can't seem to adapt. But on the other, you have this constellation model, basically a portfolio of small, fast, focused ventures. This new model can sense what people need and adapt with incredible speed, all while staying human. This is the vision for the future, right here. The next billion-dollar success stories might not be a single giant towering company. They could be a collection of small, interconnected stars, each one shining brightly in its own little corner of the universe. Okay, so let's bring all this down to a really personal level. What does this mean for you? Because this isn't just some business trend, it's a total reframing of what it even means to be an entrepreneur. This right here is the real pivot. It's the whole mental shift. The pressure to change the world is paralyzing, right? But the idea of changing something for someone, wow, That feels lighter, that feels achievable, and that feels profoundly human. And here's the path. It isn't about fancy pitch decks and raising millions of dollars. No. It starts with just noticing a problem that really bugs you. Then, having the courage to try and fix it for a small group of people you actually connect with. And finally, just leaning into whatever makes your approach unique. Ultimately, this is the really hopeful future that Sharma is painting. A world that's just blooming with thousands of these small, meaningful companies that are way more focused on curiosity, humility, and genuine service instead of just explosive, empty growth. So let's end on this powerful final image. The biggest impacts might just be coming from the smallest players. They are the real giants, and they're hiding in plain sight. So the question for you is, what small problem bothers you enough to fix?